There comes a moment in every woman's life when she realizes that the battle she has been fighting is not with men, not with love, and not even with fate. It is with herself. You've been told your whole life to try harder, to look prettier, to give more, to bend and twist yourself into someone's fantasy. And yet, even after all that, he still doesn't choose you. You stand there, broken inside, wondering what is missing, what is wrong with you. Why love feels like a cruel game where you never seem to win. But here's the truth. No one dares to tell you. The problem is not that you are not enough. The problem is that you've been taught to fight in the wrong arena. And once you see this, you will never see yourself, or love, the same way again. There is something magnetic in the feminine spirit that cannot be faked, bought, or painted on with makeup. It's not youth, not beauty, not success. It's an invisible presence that makes men turn their heads without knowing why, that makes them restless at night because they can't get you out of their minds. It's not manipulation. It's not games. It's something ancient, sacred, buried so deep in you that most women have forgotten it exists. Society buried it under layers of competition, comparison, and desperation. But it's still there, waiting for you to uncover it. And the day you touch it again, men will feel it like an earthquake under their skin. Think about it. You've seen women who aren't the youngest, the richest, or the most conventionally beautiful, and yet men orbit around them like planets drawn to a star. They carry something within them, a wholeness, a quiet strength, a light that doesn't beg to be seen, but cannot be ignored. That is not an accident. That is not luck. That is what happens when a woman stops chasing love and instead embodies it. But here is the painful truth. Most women are living upside down. They beg for crumbs of attention. They twist themselves into 1,000 shapes, hoping to be worthy. They compete with each other like soldiers in a war that nobody wins. And deep down, that emptiness grows. Have you ever been that woman? The one who gave everything, who answered every call, who tried to be endlessly patient, supportive, available, and yet he still chose someone else? That wound is unbearable, because it doesn't just feel like rejection. It feels like proof that you are invisible, unworthy, replaceable. But what if I told you that this very pain, the agony of not being chosen, is not a curse, but a doorway into the raw, unstoppable power you have buried inside you. The secret is not about getting him to notice you. It is about becoming so deeply rooted in your own essence that you stop needing to be noticed at all. Because that's when everything changes. That's when men sense something in you that they cannot find anywhere else. And it terrifies them, excites them, awakens something primal in them. This is why some women never beg, never chase, and yet men would cross oceans just to be near them. They are not playing hard to get. They are living hard to ignore. You see, men don't fall in love with a woman who tries to impress them. They fall in love with the woman who inspires them. Not the one who gives up everything for them, but the one who has something so radiant in her that he wants to rise, to meet her. The tragedy is that we, as women, have been trained to abandon this radiance. We've been told to be tough like men, to fight, to prove ourselves, to compete. And in doing so, we disconnected from the very essence that made us magnetic in the first place. This is why when you try harder, he pulls away. When you bend over backwards to be perfect, his eyes wander elsewhere. It is not because you are not enough. It is because you are acting against your own sacred nature. Deep down, he is not searching for a woman who sacrifices her soul for him. He is searching for a woman who is complete within herself, who doesn't need him, but chooses him. And that choice, that freedom, that light, that is what makes him stay. Imagine this. Instead of waiting by the phone, you are living your life so fully that when he calls, it feels like an addition, not salvation. Instead of trying to solve his problems, you are nurturing your own passions, your own dreams, your own wildness. Instead of begging to be chosen, you are walking like a woman who has already chosen herself. That is when everything shifts. That is when he feels the difference in his bones. That is when he stops seeing you as an option and begins to realize you are the choice. But let's be clear. This is not about arrogance, not about pretending to be too good for him, not about playing games. Games end, masks fall, pretenses always crack. What I'm talking about is something so real, so raw, so undeniable that no man can resist it. It is surrender. Not surrender as weakness, but surrender as the most courageous act you can ever make. Surrendering to yourself, to your essence, to the truth that you are already whole. When you reach that state, you stop clinging. You stop chasing. You stop molding yourself into shapes that don't fit. You begin to radiate something men can't explain, but can't escape. You become the woman who haunts his thoughts, not because you tried to be unforgettable, but because you were unapologetically yourself. That is the kind of presence that makes even the most distracted man realize that out of 1,000 options, there is only one woman he cannot let slip away. To understand why this works, you have to step inside the male psyche. Not the surface level of charm and attraction, but the hidden layers that even men themselves rarely understand. Deep inside, every man is an ancient instinct, a pulse of recognition that has been there since the beginning of time. It is not awakened by beauty alone, nor by kindness, nor by sex. It is awakened by presence, the kind of presence that tells him, without words, that you are not chasing him, not needing him, but radiating something so alive that he would rather risk everything than lose it. That is why some men will walk away from women who gave them everything, only to throw themselves at the feet of a woman who gave nothing but her truth. And here lies the paradox that most women never realize. The more you give up pieces of yourself to earn his love, the more invisible you become. But the more you reclaim yourself, the more irresistible you grow. A woman who is rooted in her essence does not beg for attention. She draws it. She does not sacrifice to prove she is worthy. She embodies worth. And men feel this difference not through logic, but through instinct. Think about the moments in your life when you felt most alive. Maybe you were dancing. Maybe you were creating art. Maybe you were laughing so hard your ribs ached. Maybe you were standing alone at the edge of the ocean and felt the waves crash against your soul. In those moments, you weren't trying to be attractive. You weren't performing. You were simply being. And that state, that raw, unfiltered aliveness, is exactly what men are drawn to. Not the mask, not the effort, not the competition, the being. But here's the tragedy. Most women have forgotten how to just be. Years of heartbreak, rejection, and pressure from society have taught you to armor up, to perform, to fight. You were told that love is a battlefield, and you believed it. So you armored your heart and sharpened your weapons, not realizing that in doing so, you covered the very light that was meant to draw love in, effortlessly. This is why love feels exhausting, because you are fighting against your own nature. The truth is, men are not looking for another warrior to compete with them. They are looking for a mirror of something they lost inside themselves. When a man meets a woman who is surrendered to her essence, he feels as though he has found something sacred, something ancient, something he didn't even know he was missing until it stood before him. He doesn't want to own it. He doesn't want to control it. He wants to be worthy of it. That is the difference. But how do you get there? How do you reclaim the part of yourself that has been buried under years of proving, chasing, and disappointment? The first step is to stop. Stop running. Stop begging. Stop performing. Sit with yourself long enough to hear the voice you've been drowning out. The voice that says, I am already enough. I don't need to fight to be chosen. I choose myself first. That is not arrogance. That is truth. The moment you make that choice, the energy around you shifts. You walk differently. You speak differently. Your eyes hold a light that cannot be dimmed by rejection or abandonment. You stop fearing loneliness because you realize that solitude is not emptiness. It is freedom. And paradoxically, it is in that freedom that men feel the deepest pull toward you. Let me tell you something most people will never say out loud. Men are terrified of women who need them too much. They may enjoy the attention. They may even exploit it for a while. But deep down, it suffocates them. What inspires them, what makes them rise, what makes them fight to stay, is a woman who is full on her own. A woman whose life is rich and alive, whether he is there or not. A woman who sees him not as her savior, but as her companion. That is when he feels honored to be chosen by her, instead of pressured into rescuing her. There's a story I once heard about a woman named Elena. For years, she poured herself into men who never truly chose her. She became their therapist, their mother, their rescuer, their cheerleader. She lost herself in their chaos, thinking if she just gave a little more, they would finally see her worth. But they never did. One day, after yet another heartbreak, she decided to do the unthinkable. She stopped chasing love. She stopped begging. She stopped shrinking. She picked up the paintbrush she hadn't touched in years, traveled to places she had once dreamed of, reconnected with her body, her joy, her spirit. And then it happened. Men began showing up. Not because she was hunting for them, but because she was alive again. Her ex, who had ignored her for years, suddenly wanted her back. Strangers leaned in when she walked into a room, and yet, for the first time in her life, she didn't care. She wasn't waiting to be chosen. She had chosen herself, and in that choice, she became magnetic beyond measure. Do you see the pattern? The moment a woman stops handing over her soul in exchange for scraps of attention, she becomes the most unforgettable presence in a man's life. The moment she surrenders to her true self, love begins to chase her instead of the other way around. This is not strategy, not manipulation, not some game of playing hard to get. This is truth, and truth has a way of vibrating through every word, every gesture, every silence, until it becomes impossible to ignore. So, what does surrender look like in practice? It looks like letting go of the need to control outcomes. It looks like walking away from someone who doesn't see your worth, not because you want to punish him, but because you refuse to punish yourself. It looks like saying no when you mean no, and yes when you mean yes, without fear of losing him. It looks like living fully in your body, your passions, your friendships, your dreams, so that love is no longer the air you need to breathe, but the fragrance that follows you everywhere you go. When you do this, something extraordinary happens. Men begin to feel a hunger they can't name. It's not lust alone, not attraction alone. It's the hunger to be near the kind of woman who is whole. A woman who doesn't collapse into him but stands beside him. A woman who doesn't beg for his love, but makes him want to be worthy of hers. That hunger, once awakened, does not fade. Because in a world full of women trying to be everything for men, the one who is already everything for herself is unforgettable. And here's the part most people won't tell you. Not every man can handle this kind of woman. Insecure men will run. Immature men will shrink. Weak men will feel threatened. But that is the beauty of it. You don't want those men anyway. The only ones who remain will be the ones strong enough to step up, the ones ready for real love, the ones who don't just want you as an option, but recognize you as the choice. And when that happens, you will realize the greatest truth of all. The power to be chosen was never in his hands. It was in yours all along. Once you begin to understand this truth, you start to see love differently. What once looked like rejection now appears as protection. What once felt like abandonment now reveals itself as redirection. Because when you choose yourself first, you stop seeing the end of a relationship as proof that you're not enough. You start seeing it as the clearing of space for something deeper, something real, something worthy of the woman you've become. This is the inner revolution that changes everything, not just your relationships, but your entire life. Think of the woman who wakes up every day not asking, "Will he choose me today?" but instead declaring, "I choose myself today." That energy alone changes how she moves in the world. She no longer tolerates crumbs because she has learned to feast on the richness of her own existence. She no longer fears being alone because she knows solitude is not punishment. It is freedom to grow, to create, to reconnect. And when she walks into a room, men notice, not because she is begging to be seen, but because her presence speaks louder than words. This kind of presence is rare. It cannot be imitated by pretending to be cold or playing mind games. It cannot be manufactured by copying someone else's tactics. It comes only from the deep inner work of choosing yourself, loving yourself, and surrendering to your truth. And when you do that, you begin to carry a quiet confidence that men feel on a cellular level. They may not understand it, but they are drawn to it, because a woman who is whole is a mirror to the part of a man that longs to be whole too. But here's the catch. This path is not easy. It demands that you dismantle everything you've been taught about love. It requires you to unlearn the lies that have been whispered to you since childhood, that you must earn love, prove love, fight for love. It requires you to sit with the discomfort of not chasing, not forcing, not begging. And most terrifying of all, it requires you to trust. Trust that you are enough. Trust that love will come when it is meant to. Trust that you deserve a relationship that celebrates you, not one that drains you. At first, this trust feels like jumping off a cliff without a safety net. You will be tempted to go back to old habits, to call him when he's silent, to prove your worth when he's distant, to fight for someone who never fought for you. But every time you resist that temptation, every time you choose yourself instead, you build a new foundation inside you. Brick by brick, you begin to rise into a woman who is no longer at the mercy of men's choices, but who lives by her own. Men sense this instantly. It changes the entire dynamic. He no longer feels the suffocating weight of being your only source of happiness. Instead, he feels inspired to be part of your overflowing life. He doesn't have to rescue you, he wants to rise with you, and in that shift, the relationship becomes something entirely different. It becomes partnership, not dependency. It becomes devotion, not desperation. It becomes love, not survival. This is why the women who master this secret never again settle for being an option. They know their worth, and because of that, they naturally filter out the men who can't handle it. At first, this may feel like loss. Men you once thought you needed will fade away. Connections that once felt intoxicating will reveal themselves as empty. But soon, you will realize this is not loss. It is refinement. You are no longer attracting the wrong men, because your energy is no longer rooted in lack. Instead, you are drawing in the men who are ready, the men who see, the men who choose. And here's where the miracle happens. When you stop chasing love, love begins to chase you. It shows up in unexpected places, in subtle moments, in encounters you never planned. The man who truly sees you will appear, not because you begged for him, but because your energy called him in. And when he arrives, you will not be desperate to hold on to him. You will simply recognize him. You will choose him, not from fear, but from freedom. This kind of love feels different. It doesn't make you anxious, it makes you calm. It doesn't make you question your worth. It affirms it. It doesn't demand that you shrink. It celebrates when you expand. It doesn't ask you to beg. It asks you to receive. And because you are already whole, you can receive without fear, give without depletion, and love without chains. Let me tell you something important. Once you taste this kind of love, you will never again be able to accept less. You will no longer tolerate men who breadcrumb you, ghost you, or string you along. You will no longer tolerate being half loved, half seen, half cherished. Because you will know in your bones that love is not meant to be begged for. It is meant to be lived, breathed, shared. And if a man cannot meet you at that level, you will let him go, not in anger, not in bitterness, but in quiet certainty that something greater awaits. Imagine this: waking up every day, knowing you are enough, whether or not he is there. Imagine walking through life with the freedom to love without fear, to give without losing yourself, to receive without questioning if you deserve it. Imagine no longer wondering if you are beautiful enough, young enough, interesting enough, because you know that the very fact that you exist, in your truth, in your fullness, is already enough. That is the freedom that comes with surrender. That is the power that makes you unforgettable. And when a man encounters a woman like this, everything inside him shifts. He realizes he cannot treat you like every other woman, because you are not like every other woman. He feels the difference in your energy, in your presence, in the way you do not beg, do not cling, do not perform. And suddenly, out of all the options he has, you become the one he cannot ignore. Not because you tried to be chosen, but because you chose yourself. But let me be brutally honest with you. Stepping into this kind of power will scare you. It will challenge every pattern you've carried, every belief you've clung to, every fear you've tried to hide under layers of good girl behavior. You've been trained to earn love, to prove love, to suffer for love. And when I tell you to stop, to walk away, to choose yourself first, a voice inside you screams, "What if no one ever chooses me again? What if I end up alone?" That fear is not weakness. It is the cage society built around you, and the only way out is to walk straight through it. Yes, some men will disappear when you reclaim yourself. They will sense your strength and run, because your wholeness reminds them of their own emptiness. They will call you too much, too independent, or too hard to handle. Let them go. Those words are not insults. They are confessions. What they are really saying is, I am not enough for the woman you are becoming. Do not shrink to fit into the smallness of a man who cannot stand in the presence of your fire, because the man who is meant for you will not be intimidated by your light. He will be drawn to it. He will not try to dim it. He will stand beside it, proud to be near a woman who refuses to apologize for her power. He will not be threatened by your independence, because he will have built his own. He will not see your vulnerability as weakness, but as proof of your courage. That is the difference between a man who consumes love and a man who creates love. and you deserve nothing less than the latter. The secret, then, is not about doing more. It is about being more. More present, more alive, more unapologetically you. It is about surrendering not to him, not to society, not to fear, but to yourself. Surrender in this sense is not defeat. It is liberation. It is laying down the exhausting weapons you've carried, the endless games, the constant striving, and realizing that you are always enough as you are. And when you surrender in this way, love begins to flow differently. You stop seeing relationships as transactions. If I give him this, maybe he'll give me love. Instead, you see them as mirrors. A man's treatment of you becomes a reflection of his own capacity for love, not proof of your value. You stop chasing apologies and start demanding accountability. You stop trying to heal broken men and start choosing men who have already chosen to heal themselves. Walter Riso once said that a woman who has returned to her essence becomes like a lighthouse. She doesn't chase ships. She simply shines. Some ships pass by, too afraid of the light. Some get lost in the storm and cannot reach her. But the right ship, the one ready for safe harbor, will find its way to her shore. That is what it means to be magnetic. Not to beg for love, not to manipulate for love, but to embody love so fully that it becomes impossible to overlook. But understand this clearly. Surrender is not passivity. It is not sitting around waiting for love to arrive at your door. It is active, it is fierce, it is sacred. It means living so fully that whether love arrives today, tomorrow, or never, you are still whole. It means building a life so rich with passion, purpose, and presence that a man who enters it feels honored, not burdened. It means standing so firmly in your worth that even if he leaves, even if he forgets, even if he betrays, you remain unshaken because you never gave your crown away. Think of the women in history who carried this energy, those who were admired, remembered, celebrated not just for their beauty, but for their essence. They didn't beg to be loved. They commanded love through the force of who they were. And that is available to you right now. If you dare to stop fighting for scraps and start living from your fullness. And yes, this path will make you selective. The men who once seemed irresistible will suddenly appear small. The games you once tolerated will feel insulting. The relationships you once accepted will feel suffocating. And that is a blessing, not a curse. Because the moment your standards rise, your life rises with them. You will no longer waste years on men who cannot choose you. You will no longer cry yourself to sleep wondering if you're enough. Instead, you will walk through life with the unshakable knowing, I am enough. And the man who sees it, who values it, who honors it, is the only one worthy of me. Imagine this. Conversations with men that are no longer auditions, but exchanges. Dates that no longer feel like interviews, but adventures. Relationships that are no longer prisons, but partnerships. Imagine laughing without fear of being too loud. Loving without fear of being too much. Living without fear of being too different. That is the freedom surrender gives you. And that is the kind of freedom men cannot resist, because it is the one thing they secretly crave too. Do not underestimate how contagious this energy is. When you choose yourself, other women notice. Your friends begin to wonder how you walk with such grace. Your daughters learn from your example what love should feel like. Even men who do not end up with you are changed by the encounter. You become a reminder to them that real love exists, that real women exist, that wholeness is possible, and some of them will rise because of you, even if they are not yours to keep. That is the ripple effect of a woman who surrenders to her essence. she doesn't just change her love life, she changes the entire fabric of the relationships around her. And here's the final truth. Once you walk this path, you will never go back. You will never again beg for love, because you will know love cannot be begged. It can only be received. You will never again accept crumbs, because you will know your love is a feast. You will never again settle for being an option, because you will know you are the choice. And when that day comes, when you stand in the fullness of who you are, he will feel it. He will see it. And out of 1,000 options, he will choose you, not because you fought for him, but because you never stopped fighting for yourself. And now, I want you to take a deep breath and let this truth sink into your bones. You were never created to beg for love. You were never created to shrink yourself just to be chosen. You were never created to live starving for crumbs of affection when your very soul was designed to feast on abundance. Somewhere along the way, the world convinced you that you had to earn your place in a man's heart, that you had to sacrifice your essence just to be worthy of his attention. That was the lie. And today, right here, right now, you break it. Because the real power has always been in your hands. The moment you stop chasing, stop proving, stop clawing for his approval, the game changes. The chains fall. The mask shatters. And what's left is the raw, unstoppable truth of you. The woman who doesn't beg, doesn't bargain, doesn't apologize. The woman who knows her love is not a currency, but a crown. And when you wear that crown, without shame, without hesitation, the world bends differently around you. Yes, men will feel it. Some will flee, some will crumble, some will bow. But the right one, the one with the courage to meet you in your fullness, he will not only choose you, he will cherish you. Not because you trapped him, not because you impressed him, not because you played his games. He will choose you because in you, he sees what he has been starving for: truth, wholeness, light. And that kind of choice is unshakable, because it's not made with his eyes, it's made with his soul. But here's what matters most. Even if no man ever came, even if love never knocked again, you would still be enough. Because you are not defined by being chosen. You are defined by choosing yourself. And when you do, when you finally surrender to the woman you were always meant to be, life itself begins to choose you. Opportunities choose you. Friendships choose you. Freedom chooses you. Joy chooses you. That is the miracle waiting on the other side of your surrender. So stop giving your tears to men who cannot hold them. Stop handing your fire to men who only want to dim it. Stop sacrificing your life for men who wouldn't bleed a single drop for you. You are not an option. You are not a fallback plan. You are not good enough until someone better comes along. You are the storm, the sanctuary, the star. And any man who doesn't see that is already blind. And to the woman listening right now, the one who feels broken, the one who feels forgotten, the one who feels like she will never be chosen, I need you to hear me. You are not broken. You are not forgotten. You are not invisible. You are on the edge of becoming the most powerful version of yourself. The pain you feel is not proof that you are unworthy. It is proof that you are being pushed into transformation. And if you have the courage to walk through it, if you have the courage to stop chasing love and instead start embodying it, you will never again question your worth. Because the day you choose yourself fully, everything shifts. The world rearranges. And men, whether they admit it or not, will feel that shift like thunder under their skin. And when that moment comes, when he stands before you, out of all the women he could have chosen, he will know with certainty. She is the one. And you, my dear, will finally know the truth. It was never about him choosing you. It was always about you choosing yourself first. That is the secret. That is the revolution. That is the heartbeat of every word spoken here. So wear your crown. Walk in your light. Live in your truth. Because once you do, no man, no rejection, no silence will ever make you question again. You are the choice. You always were. If these words stirred something inside you, don't let it fade. Declare it. Share this message with the women who need to remember their worth. Leave one word in the comments, chosen, as your vow to never settle again. Subscribe and join the circle of awakened souls, because here we don't chase love, we embody it. Every video is a reminder that you are not an option. You are the choice. And when you choose yourself, the world follows.